Hi and welcome to my newest presentation about harnessing the power of enterprise architecture and artificial intelligence for strategic benefit. This is a talk, a recording of a talk that I have given at the HSLU, the Lucerne University of Applied Science and Arts, and in association with the Digital Veterans Association on the 10th of July 2024. Now, enterprise architecture, a huge word, and it lays heavy in the air. What is that enterprise architecture? Now, I can already tell you it is not about the Starship Enterprise. And for those who are not Trekkies and don't know Star Trek Enterprise, it's also not about Star Wars. What enterprise architecture is, it is about a holistic view on the enterprise. And when you look at how Gartner defines enterprise architecture, it's about enterprise architecture is a discipline for proactively and holistically leading enterprise responses to disruptive forces by identifying and analyzing the execution of change toward a desired business vision and outcomes. And I can already tell you there is no concrete definition of enterprise architecture out there. Therefore, some years ago, I have drawn this picture about enterprise architecture. You can see on top, there is the enterprise vision coming in. This vision will be translated into a business strategy and then into a business architecture. This business architecture is closely connected to the application architecture over the business services, and we will come to that in a minute. And then below the application architecture, there is the technical architecture. And then we have methods, skills, toolings, processes and organization and culture below. So when we, for example, take now a bank, we are in Switzerland and here we have a lot of banks and therefore a bank is a good example. Then a bank usually has a vision, a very clear vision. They have a business strategy that they derive from that vision, and from that they have a business architecture. And now the interesting thing comes, usually a bank, they have an e-banking system where they are selling their products, their services up on top of that. So these are the business services which closely align to the business strategy and to the business architecture that they have. So these services that they are providing over an e-banking, of course, there is the application architecture behind that, which is the e-banking software system. Can be also multiple services below it, but they are exposing these business services. And below that, usually in the technical architecture, you have the core banking system and all of the other backends that are needed to power such a bank. So this is, and you can see, this is a picture on an enterprise. And this is here the generic picture on the enterprise architecture. Now, another very good definition what enterprise architecture is comes from Gregor Hoppe. I really love his books about cloud strategy and also the book about platform strategies. So amazing books, buy them and read them. And he has a very short, and I love short definitions of enterprise architecture. He says enterprise architecture is the glue between business and IT architecture. And when you can look at that, then you can also see that in this picture that I have drawn. Over on the top we have the business and below we have the IT, and this glue is exactly these business services that get exposed to the client. And this is really a very good picture that you should take into your mind. Now, when we talk about enterprise architecture, there is no presentation about enterprise architecture without the TOGAF framework, which is the Open Group Architecture Framework, which you can see here. And they also have their definition of enterprise architecture, which you can see here. And it's a very, very good definition, a holistic view. So there is everything in there, what you ever might need. It's just a little bit too big for me, in my opinion. Now, of course, also the HSLU has their picture, their view on enterprise architecture. They have a CAS for enterprise architecture, and they look at enterprise architecture from foundation, elaboration, frameworks and capabilities, and governance. And now you can see enterprise architecture is all about the different views and perspective of an organization, of their structure and their processes. So that is what enterprise architecture is all about. Now, there are people that are doing enterprise architecture. And here you can see an enterprise architect. Okay, no, it's not an enterprise architect. He is the architect of The Matrix. This picture comes from the movie The Matrix. Sometimes enterprise architects look like that, more from the gray hair point of view. But let's have a look at what an enterprise architect is. So usually what I can see what an enterprise architect is he sits in his ivory tower and draws some very nice pictures about their view and perspective of an enterprise. And usually no one cares about these pictures. They are usually quite useless. So when we look at an enterprise architect, what he or she needs to do, he or she needs to go up and down the architect elevator. By the way, also an awesome book by Georg Hoppe. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a fanboy of him. Sorry for that. But what an enterprise architect needs to do, he needs or she needs to go to the top management, to the C-level, and talk with them about the business strategy, the vision, and how to transform that into an IT strategy. And then the enterprise architect needs to go all the way down to the factory floor and also talk to the people on the factory floor, whatever these pictures are really the pictures that we need, and if this really works out and works together with the people on the factory floor on the development of this enterprise architecture. So don't be this enterprise architect. When we look at the architect role and what an enterprise architect needs to do, he or she needs to understand the business strategy and translate together with the CIO this business strategy into an IT strategy. And then create out of that, what's already there, the IT as is picture. So what do we have at the moment? What capabilities do we have? How does the application landscape look like? And create that picture. And then create the IT to be picture. So how should the application landscape look like in the future? What capabilities do we need based on the business strategy and the IT strategy? And then create a roadmap out of that, so that the whole company can transform into that. Now, the problem is more than 66 of the enterprise architecture initiatives are failing. That's a huge problem. And it might be because the enterprise architects are not that good. That might be. But it also might be because of that word, initiative. Initiative smells like a project, and the project has a start point and an end point. And an enterprise architecture has no end. Enterprise architecture is a continuous process. It's not a project. It never stops. And you can see that in this infinity symbol here. As I told you, we are going to understand the vision and the goals of a company so that we can understand the business strategy. Out of that, together with the CIO, we are going to extract and create the IT strategy. And then we are going to create the IT as is picture based on our analysis. Then we create the IT to be picture based on that business and IT strategy. And we create a roadmap how we are going there. And of course, then we are going to govern that, we're going to refine and coach the people, we go down to the factory floor and help the people developing this new strategy. And what then happens usually is, or not so usually, it can be that we get a Ukraine war, or COVID strikes us, or CrowdStrike strikes us, or anything else can strike us, and then potentially we need to adapt the business strategy based on that. And the business will do that. And based on this new business strategy, we of course need to adapt the IT strategy. And usually it has also an impact on the IT as is picture and on the to be picture and then on the roadmap. And you can see this is absolutely no initiative. It is not a project. It is a continuous process that will never stop. And that's the most important thing that you need to take out of that. So when done right, then the impact of enterprise architecture on a company is huge. You can reduce cost. You can accelerate the whole delivery of your products, be that cyber-physical system or only software systems. You can reduce the risk and overall be more agile because, as I said, the business strategy might change based on the economic world that is out there, and it can change very fast, and then it is of great luck and essence to be a very, very agile. So now you might ask, okay, Romano, we get it. We know now what an enterprise architecture is and what the role of an enterprise architect is, but how does that look like in practice? Now, what else? I have drawn a picture for you for that because we are now in an enterprise architecture talk, and this is always important to have such a picture. In this picture, you will see an enterprise. They are developing drones. And I use here drones because it's something you see and you can also grab with your fingers. Of course, in your mind, you can just translate it to your software system, whatever that is. It's just to have sort of a picture. So in this company, on the top level, on the management level, we have the board of directors and they have awesome visions, which they translate into a business strategy. And out of that, at the moment, this company has developed small drones and they only have a small market share. in the future, they want to have different drones and a huge market share. They want to have drones for maintenance. They want to have drones which are fast, and they want to have drones which can carry high loads. Now, on this level, you have a portfolio backlog. And in that portfolio backlog, you have all of these great ideas prioritized. And now this board will take one of the great ideas and give this idea down to the product management level. There are the product managers. And the product managers, they will take this idea, and here they have chosen to have drones which can carry high loads. They are taking now this idea and think about what do we need to do to develop these drones that can carry high loads. And they think about that and they come up with, we need a better or a huger battery, we need other motors, and of course we need to have, a software update. And they give that down to the team level. On the team level, we already have two teams working, one team on the software and one team on the battery, and they give now these features down onto the POs, and the POs will create user stories together with the teams, and they will start developing that new software and that new battery. And what you can see, they have already a quite standardized continuous delivery pipeline or continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline already running. Now, for the third team, we need to have new motors, and they of course need to build that. And in order to build that, they are given by the platform team a standardized development environment, a continuous delivery environment where they can start within no time. And so the product gets assembled together, it goes to the customer is happy, but the story does not end there. Now we need to gather all of the data, the telemetry data, which is very, very important. Does it really work? Is everything okay with the drone? And this telemetry data needs to go back to the team, of course. They need to continuously improve based on that, but it also needs to go back to that top level, to the board level, because you remember, they want to increase their market share. So now we need to measure if that drone increases the market share or not, or if the customers are happy or not, or if we're getting the revenue that was planned. And based on that data, the board will make decisions whether we invest more money into that drone or we are going to invest into something else. And that's a very important thing. And what you can see here is called a digital factory, where we have on the top level the lean portfolio management, which connects the execution with the strategy. We have the product management, which cares about the products and organize the multiple teams. And below we have the product teams, which do DevOps, and they are building and running and maintaining their products. And below, on the foundation level, you have the platform team that develops and builds the platform that enables the team to create their products. And this is a very important thing here. And that's why I brought you another picture on this platform, because these platforms are getting more and more, and you will see based on that this is really a key component of enterprise architecture in the future. When we look at on the top at the different pictures on the different views on enterprise architecture, then this is sort of the foundation level of your enterprise architecture. So such a platform is very important because you have a platform team that develops this platform, and this platform offers you the capabilities that are needed to create your product. So these are the capabilities that these teams need. So for example, application runtime, identity and access management, observability, and even AI is a capability that you offer through this platform to the teams. Now, the important thing is the teams, they are developing, they are building, they are running, and they are maintaining their product. It's not the platform team, because if we are going into that direction, then we are back in the world where development and operation were separated. Here it's very clear. The platform team creates this platform, which is an internal product, and the customer of this product is the product team. So they just give the teams the capabilities and the software and the tools that they need to create their product, which means the platform team generates value for the teams, and the teams are generating value for the customers. So now you think, yeah, why are these platforms so important? Now, when you look at Gartner and other international consulting companies, then they see platforms as the emerging trends of the future. You can see based on what they are saying that in 2027, all of the big companies will create their own platform. And it is sort of a strategic thing to think about and to build your platform in your company. Now, when we look at these platforms, then there is also a CNCF platform white paper out there, which is very, very good. And now, based on that, you will see why such a platform is so important for enterprise architects and for enterprise architecture. Here on this picture, you can see the different capabilities. So on the bottom, the infrastructure providers are coming in. So Azure, AWS, Google, they are coming in with their capabilities. Then you have the platform capabilities, which use these infrastructure capabilities like compute network, data, queues, and so on. And of course, based on that, you will provide identity and access management, you will have workloads in there, storage, and so on, all of these building blocks. And on top, you will have an interface, which you of course have documentation for the people, you have project templates, golden path templates, so how to build products in your space, graphical user interface, APIs, and CLIs. Now, the important thing is, based on that, you can bring in your enterprise guidelines. As an enterprise architect, you are writing guidelines, you are writing rules and policies, how you want to have your target IT in the future. And with such a platform, you are going to codify that. With that thing, with that platform, you are able to guide them so that they don't need to read your policies, they are coded policies. And this allows you to have better integration, better scalability, and of course a better standardization. And this makes everything much more efficient, secure, and you are suddenly able to innovate and all of the capabilities of that your company needs to have are already there in this platform. So I brought you an example of such a platform, which we as Zülke are building together with LGT. It's quite awesome. You can see on the left, it has a great user interface, but of course also a CLI so that the developer can log in into that platform and work directly on that platform. Of course, you also have a Kubernetes cluster in there where your workloads are running in a standardized way, where all of the rules and governance things are already codified, and you have golden path solutions for every product type you are going to develop. The onboarding is usually quite painful when you don't have such a platform, because what usually happens when you need to onboard someone, it takes weeks or even months until a new developer or a new person is onboarded and has access to all of the tools. With such a platform, what you can do is you can onboard someone in the morning and offboard him in the evening. Why? Because all of the tools and infrastructure providers are integrated into that platform, and the platform gives you the access right to that. And you even can onboard by bringing your own identity other partners that also need to have access on the platform. So for example, you can have other development partners integrated their identity into this platform so that they can onboard their people by themselves, because what we always want to have with such a platform is a self-service portal. We don't want to have any ticketing system. This is just stupid. Now, also FinOps is a very important thing, and you need to get to track, of course, the usage of infrastructure components, and you also need to give this information to the teams. Again, we want to enable the teams, we want to give them a one-stop shop where they have all of the data available for themselves and also look at them. This enables you to give them this entrepreneurial thinking where they see, oh, we use quite a lot of compute power, and they are going to analyze why they are using so much compute power and then restructure or refactor their code, or even just shut down some of their instances which are not used. Now, I already said it, what is very important is that you have standards in there. And what you can see here, when you have such a platform, then you can have a catalog where you have the most common things that are used in your company. For example, usually what you have as an enterprise architect, you have a list of the databases that you can use, or the list of the tools that development teams can use. With such a platform, you are going to have this application catalog where they can choose what they would like to use, and they can only select what they should use. And in that, when they select, for example, here a Redis database, what happens behind it will create that with the right naming scheme, with the right sizing of your company, with backups, with logging and monitoring everything in place by just one click. And this is codifying guidelines and rules and governance. And this is really the awesome thing to have. And now you also suddenly understand why this is such an important thing to have such a platform for enterprise architecture. Of course, security is also very, very important. And there are a lot of security vulnerabilities out there. And therefore, with such a platform, because you integrate everything in this platform, you have access to all of these repositories, to all of the containers, to all of the runtimes, and you can security scan them in a centralized way, and also give again rules what vulnerabilities need to be resolved. Now, you will say, but Romano, this talk should also be about AI, artificial intelligence. And nowadays, AI is everywhere. Where is AI in such a platform? And you are absolutely right, because also Gartner says by 2027, 40% of the platforms will have these artificial intelligence integrated in their software delivery lifecycle. Now, of course, this is quite new stuff, but I can already show you how we have integrated that into our platform that we are building for LGT. So AI is of course everywhere, which means you also have a chatbot in there where you can chat with him. And you would now say, yeah, but this looks like a ChatGPT. Yes and no. This is a special chatbot that runs on premise and has data which is confidential. And now you can see you suddenly can integrate different systems, different flavors into such a system. But we also, of course, have AI assistance for your documentation. You don't need to read through the platform documentation. You can ask an AI assistant. And again here, this is just having an LLM model, having a vector database with the documentation in there, and boom, you have this AI assistant, which is absolutely awesome. It looks like, wow. In the end, it's just playing Lego when you have such a platform. It gets very, very simple to create these awesome AI use cases. And again, another picture here. We had developers that had problems with their Docker images. And what we did is we just went and said, hey, look, we analyzed your Docker image. We showed them sort of the layering of their Docker containers. And then we just used a Red Hat special LLM model, which is specialized in analyzing the Docker files. And boom, you have an analysis of your Docker image. And the developers love these features. They are really like, wow, this helps quite a lot. And of course, we are also thinking a little bit further. Perhaps we could also create another AI agent that automatically creates a pull request that solves these problems. But yeah, this is stuff from the future. Here again, another viewpoint, because with such a platform, you also have all of the log files in there in a standardized way, which means, again, you can use an LLM, which is optimized for log analysis, and then you can analyze the log files of your application. So you see, it's very, very awesome what you can do, and many more use cases are coming to your mind when you have such a platform. And you can see with such a platform, it's just like playing Lego. Only the time and the budget is the limit when you have such a platform. It's really, really awesome. Now, you might ask, where is AI in that picture of enterprise architecture? And yes, AI is everywhere, but in the end, it is just a capability that is standardized and governed and provided enterprise-wide. And it's just that box in this picture that I have drawn a while ago. And also when we look at TOGAF, then enterprise artificial intelligence is again just a tiny box there in application services and in technology services. And when we look at this other picture that I have drawn, then AI is just that tiny box there, which is provided by the platform to the whole enterprise. Now you will say, yeah, boy, this is quite a tiny box for AI. Yeah, let's zoom into that tiny box. Now, when we open up that box, then you see, well, it's not that tiny anymore. You have on top the teams and also the business users that are using these AI systems. Then you have the platform interfaces. Of course, you have the developer portal that you just saw, where we have these nice AI use cases. But you also have these chatbots that you just saw. You can create your own enterprise chatbot that answers things about your processes, about your values, and so on. You can really play around with these AIs. And of course, you have CLIs and also APIs that you are exposing. Below that, you have that common API where you expose these features, and then you have application tools and models. On the application layer, you have these chatbots as applications. You have synthetic data tools which generate synthetic data for your employees and for your products. You have AI coding assistants, knowledge management, generative design tools, and productivity assistants, and so on and so on. All of the applications that you are providing to the enterprise. Below that, you have the tools that are needed for these applications. Of course, the whole prompt engineering, vector databases, RAG use cases, and the whole model lifecycle management, also called data ops, ML ops, and model ops. And below that, you have the models. And here it's again very, very important. You need to have a model hub. You need to store your models. You need to say which model version is ready to be used. Of course, you also will use open source model. Perhaps if you have a lot of money, you will create your own models. Usually it's not the case that you are creating your own models, but it might be. And then you also want to have these models stored in the different versions down there. And of course, below that, you are getting also APIs from the infrastructure providers. Of course, AWS and Azure, they provide also these interfaces to their models, and you will just plug them in. So it's just sort of playing Lego for big companies. Now, in summary, what is the essence of this talk is that an effective enterprise architecture always ensures that the IT strategy is aligned with the business strategy. It's all about that glue that glues the enterprise and the business strategy together. And what is here very important as an enterprise architecture, you need to understand the business strategy, derive the IT strategy out of that, and then create the as-is picture, then derived from the IT strategy, create the should-be picture, and create your roadmap. Important, this is not a project enterprise architecture. It is a continuous project. It is a continuous process that will never end and will never stop, because things are changing, there are new business strategies coming up, and you always need to adjust to that. We have seen that creating that platform is very, very strategic, and you as an enterprise architect need to think about creating your own platform so that you can codify all of your policies, all of your guidelines and rules into that platform so that no one will needs to read your guidelines, rules and policies, because they are already codified and ready to be used. Also very important, AI is at the moment a huge word and everybody is talking about it, but in the end it's just that tiny box. It's a capability that you offer, in the best case, through your platform, which is governed and standardized, and you give that this capability to the business and of course also to the development team. And with that, our enterprise architecture becomes a strategic lever that boosts the performance of your enterprise. And by that, by implementing a robust platform strategy, leveraging the artificial intelligence and embracing enterprise architecture, you can position your organization to lead the innovation and efficiency. And this is the way how you can continuously deliver value in today's world. Thank you very much.